welcome back. ScottGodwin.net, Movement and Meaning. We're going to talk for a minute about how you can use exercise to deal with anxiety, worry. I wrote a book about the effect of exercise on the brain. It's a very fascinating subject. Check out the book if you haven't read it. But in this video, I just want to briefly tell you a little bit about how exercise can help you with anxiety. Tons of people in our country take medications for this. It's a big problem. We all worry, right? We all have things we're concerned about, family, friends, work, so on. The news is enough to stress most of us out. But anxiety is basically a habit. Worry is a habit, Stress is a habit. It's something we're programming ourselds to do. It's what we call tapes, These tapes, they run in your head without you even being aware of it. So one tape for you might be, it might be, I'm not going to be able to pay the bills. So over and over, you're worried about money. Or for you, it might be, I don't know, I'm going to lose my job. And it might be something you're obsessing about over and over and over again. Maybe it's terrorism. I don't know. There's a ton of things that we might stress and worry about. And we all do this, right? We have our doubts, our worries, we have anxiety. It's very common. So how does exercise fit into this? These tapes that go on in our brains, we're obsessing about, these things need to be interrupted. And in order to be interrupted, first we need to be aware that it's happening. We need to be aware that we're worrying, aware that we're turning this over in our head over and over and over again, whatever it might be. Let's say, for example, that you're worried about the fact that you might have some sort of a health problem. Maybe just make it up in your head, whatever it is. You're worried about this or that. Let's say you're constantly obsessing over it. Well, you first have to be aware that you're obsessing over it, and then secondly, you need to take a break from thinking about that. We just had a stressful election in this country. People were obsessing about that. We all were worried about it. We're all following it. I was following it. You were following it. We all were. So sometimes that sort of thing can get into our head. We're constantly running over in our head these tapes. We have to break that pattern. And so what we can do is we can find things that allow us to break that and to focus our conscious mind on something else. And in some cases, you actually may have a serious problem that's worth worrying about. You may have a conflict. You may have to decide between two things, taking this job or taking that one. Ending this relationship or not ending it. Doing this, doing that. So you may have things that you really are conflicted about, that really you do need to worry about. Well, what you can do is you can break that pattern, that tape, and you can go in, you can do something else. Now, exercise is not the only way you can do this. You could pick up something like a musical instrument, play the guitar, you could go for a walk, which would be exercise. You could listen to music, you could call somebody, but the key is to break that tape, to break that worry, break that obsession. And in my book, I wrote about that. I wrote about how with anxiety, the great thing about exercise is that it breaks that pattern. It allows you to do something different. So let's say the first half of the day you're stressed out about work, you're worrying about it, maybe a certain client or project. At lunchtime you go for a run, you lift weights, you go to the gym, you go to martial arts, you go for a walk, you go hiking, do some kind of exercise. It allows you to stop thinking about that and start thinking about something else. Well, the great thing about that is the subconscious mind, the deep parts of your brain can actually work on that problem. So it allows you to interrupt that tape, interrupt that pattern, and to allow the deeper parts of the brain to actually work on solving this conflict. And in some cases, you're just worrying about silly things and you need to break it and get out of that. So that is a skill you can develop over time. You can develop a skill where you actually learn to think about something else, So the great thing about exercise, it allows you to take a break from whatever you're worrying about, whatever your anxiety is. You can take a break from that and you can do something different. And you can physically ground yourself, okay? This is a little technique I want to teach you. Your mind is worrying about something, okay? I don't know what it is, but your mind is worrying about something. Let's just pretend that you're worrying about, are you going to be able to get a job? You just graduated college, you got a lot of student loan debt, okay? And this fear, this anxiety is so intense, you're spending too much time just worrying about it. It's affecting you physically. You need to ground yourself in reality, okay? This crap going on in your head is not real. It's not true, okay? You need to be taking action towards finding that job in this case, but you're paralyzed from this fear, this paranoia, this anxiety. So physically, you're going to ground yourself in reality. Now, I keep hitting my hands like this because this is physical reality, okay? And when you lift weights, for example, you're dealing with, 100 pounds, 200 pounds on your chest, you're lifting. This is a physical reality, and your brain has to focus on this, okay? Now, this is a little technique you can use. You can use it in the car, you can use it when you're talking to somebody. Anytime you catch yourself slipping into those tapes, those patterns that run in your head unconsciously, I want you to ground yourself. Maybe you do something like this, or maybe you, maybe you look at something like, even like let's just say like a basketball, for example. Let's say you pick a basketball up and you look at it, and you notice how it has these little bumps on it, and these little lines. Okay, it sounds silly, but what you're doing is you're focusing on that. You're not focusing on this nonsense going on in your head, okay? So take a break every day. Use exercise that way, okay? Get away from whatever it is you're worrying about. Some of it legitimate, some of it not. Regardless, you need to ground yourself in reality and take a break from that, okay? And then once you really develop that skill, you can break down your conflicts, and you can use goal setting, project management, that kind of stuff, to start checking off that checklist to deal with things that might be a legitimate concern. Maybe you got that student loan debt. Well, how are you going to deal with it? Sitting around and navel gazing and just sort of feeling paranoid and just overwhelmed about it, that's not going to do any good. You need to write out what you're going to do and take action. Worrying is not helping, okay? We need to take action, but sometimes we got to break that pattern. You got to do something different, and that's where exercise comes in. You can use other things, but exercise is great because in addition to that, it does a lot of other positive things for your brain. Okay, so that's a little intro video. We could go much deeper, but that's an intro video to tell you just basically how to use exercise to deal with worry. Stop the tapes, stop the patterns, ground yourself, take a break, ground yourself in a physical reality, running, lifting weights, taking some sort of class, dancing. I don't care what you do something physical. You'll feel better and you'll break that pattern. Then you can come back and deal with it later, okay? So let's start doing that as one technique to deal with anxiety and worry. I'll talk to you soon. ScottGodwin.net, movementandmeaning.com. See you soon.